Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you've got a second grader at home right now, you already know this year is an absolute whirlwind of learning. Today, we're going to bridge the gap between those super rigorous second grade reading expectations happening in the classroom and the incredibly impactful support that you can provide right at your kitchen table. We're going to make all that complex stuff feel simple. Be honest for a second. Have you ever opened your kid's backpack, pulled out their reading homework, and thought, wait, what on earth is a diphthong? Since when did second grade get this complicated? It is totally normal to feel a little stressed when the terminology looks like a foreign language. But take a deep breath. This explainer is basically your stress-relieving translator for all that educational jargon. All right, here is our roadmap for today. First, the second grade reading leap. Second, cracking the phonics code. Third, inside the UFLI routine. Fourth, home practice read and spell. And finally, your at-home resource toolkit. Let's jump right into Section 1, the second grade reading leap. Before we figure out how to help them get there, we really need to understand the destination, the specific Florida best reading standards your child is actively working toward this year. Before we even touch on phonics, you'll notice that second graders are tackling some incredibly mature comprehension goals. Under the Florida best standards for prose and poetry, your child isn't just reading words on a page anymore. They're actually identifying plot structures, pulling out main story elements like setting and characters, and they're even explaining the underlying themes of texts. To give you an idea of how deep they go, they're learning to identify rhyme schemes, mapping out patterns like AAB or ABAB in poetry, and analyzing different characters' perspectives. I mean, that is a lot of heavy lifting for a second grade brain. Moving to Section 2, cracking the phonics code. Now that we've seen those massive comprehension goals, let's zoom in on the foundational reading skills that actually make all that comprehension possible. To meet the standard of decoding complex words, kids first need to understand syllable types. Let's break it down. An open syllable basically ends in a vowel, making a long vowel sound. Think of words like hi or baby. A closed syllable, on the other hand, is closed off by a consonant, making the vowel sound short, like in bag or chop. Just understanding this one simple rule completely unlocks a kid's ability to tackle longer, multisyllabic words with total confidence. Remember those scary terms we joked about earlier? Well, the standards require students to decode words using variable vowel teams, like the oo, ea, or ow-u letter combinations. They also have to master vowel diphthongs, like oi, and ow. And honestly, a diphthong is literally just a fancy linguistic term for a specific vowel combination that glides together to make a unique sound. Once you see it broken down with a few examples, it's not nearly as intimidating, right? Section 3. Inside the UFLI routine. So you might be wondering, how do teachers actually get students to memorize and apply all these complex phonics rules? Well, they use an explicit, systematic program called UFLI Foundations, which stands for the UF Literacy Institute. The program follows a very specific 8-step routine, but I kind of like to think of it as a daily brain workout, broken into 3 main phases. First, there's the warm-up. This involves phonemic awareness, plus visual, auditory, and blending drills, just to review previously taught concepts. Next comes the heavy lifting, where the teacher explicitly introduces a brand new concept, like one of those vowel teams. And finally, we hit the cool down. This is where students apply what they just learned through word work and reading connected text. It's structured, it's rhythmic, and really works. All right, Section 4, home practice, read and spell. Let's see how this highly structured classroom routine translates to the homework you actually see sitting at your kitchen table. The physical bridge between school and home is the UFLI home practice sheet. You'll notice the new concept, say the sh sound, is listed right up top, followed by sample words to practice, like shop, shin, and dish. The really crucial thing to grasp here is that this isn't just some random spelling list to memorize for a Friday test. It's a highly targeted practice sheet that aligns perfectly with the exact heavy lifting concept they learned in class that week. The instructions on that practice sheet actually give you 2 distinct strategies to support your child. When they're practicing reading the words, you want them to say the sound for each letter or letter combination and then blend them together. So they'd say d, I, sh, and blend it into dish. But when it comes to spelling those exact same words, they have to work in reverse. They need to break the spoken word apart into its individual sounds and then write down the corresponding letters for each sound. So remember, reading is blending and spelling is segmenting. Moving to our final part, Section 5, your at-home resource toolkit. You're acting as the co-pilot in this reading journey, but you definitely aren't expected to fly blind.
Hillsborough Reads has put together some absolutely fantastic digital resources for families. You don't have to guess how to run a blending drill at home using wordwork chains or virtual mats. They've created accessible UFLI Foundation's home practice parent videos. You literally just hold your smartphone camera up to the QR code provided on your materials, and it takes you straight to a video that models exactly how to support your child with that weekly practice sheet. It's basically like having a reading coach sitting right in your living room.
And it's a massive priority that these tools are accessible to everyone. The newly updated family resources ensure that caregivers who speak Spanish have the exact same level of support. The UFLI Weekly Reading and Spelling Home Practice Guide is fully translated and available in Spanish, empowering all families to confidently jump in and help with this foundational skills practice. If you're wondering where all this is heading over the course of the school year, there's a suggested second grade progression to guide you. You're supported by tools like the Reader's Garden lesson videos, some really catchy educational songs, and comprehensive guides that align perfectly with UFLI. They start with an alphabet review in longer words, graduate into digraphs and that tricky magic E, move through the vowel teams and diphthongs we just talked about, and eventually tackle complex suffixes and prefixes. It's this beautifully structured sequence that builds their reading muscles step by step. So I'll leave you with this question. What new phonics rule might you learn right alongside your second grader tonight? Remember, you absolutely do not need to be a reading expert or have a degree in education to help your child succeed. You just need to follow the guides, lean into the UFLI structure, get a little curious, and enjoy the process of learning together. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy reading.